podcast,
part of the Repurpose Network,
where kingdom culture, real life, and technology intersect. I'm your host, Prentiss Thompson, and what we do? We talk to real people, pastors, leaders, engineers, tech people, manufacturers, worship leaders, all about church, technology, and provide solutions for a successful Sunday morning service. You ready? It's time to take a ride. Let's go. Yes, and welcome to another edition of the Church Sound Podcast. I'm your humble host, Mr. Prentiss Thompson. I love when I hear the roar of the crowd, the roar of the crowd, the roar of the crowd. Hey, listen, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. You know, tuning in when you're on the treadmill, tuning in when you're in the car, tuning in, sneaking it in when you're at work, you know, using that as a training tool for your teams. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that I'm sharing something of value to you, and I'm hoping that you get something out of it. Today's a solo dolo show. I tuned in last week. I kind of redirected what we're going to be doing moving forward until God says so. We're going to be focused on small churches, and the reason is it was just a directive. It was really just a directive on how and what we're going to be speaking on dealing with small churches. So we are going to be bringing in manufacturers and really focusing them on small churches. We're going to talk to pastors, to leaders, and to worship leaders and musicians, and all of the challenges that goes along with small church. And it's very, very important for those who are listening. If you are a small church or you are a member of a small church, this podcast will be a blessing, because that's all I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about big church. I'm not going to talk about mega church. I have some comparisons, but I'm not going to talk about. We're going to center our attention and all the needs on small churches. So this is a solo dolo show today. As you can tell, there's no guest. I am the guest, me, myself, and I will not speak to myself. I promise. I will not speak to myself. But I'm excited because this is the God directive. So the first misnomer I would like to challenge every pastor, every musician, MD, every parishioner is, what is your expectation of what your Sunday should be? What is your expectation? And when I visit churches to do trainings, and I do trainings, and you find a link in the show notes if you want to do that, I find that 80% of the time it is an outlandish expectation. So let me give you what that really means. Let's go audio first. You have an audio person in place that knows nothing about audio. I mean, bare minimum, hardly know anything about audio. And that's one. Two, the church will not invest in training for said person or staff. So I'm going to back it up. One, you have a person in place who is a novice. Two, you refuse to get training for this individual. Three, you're expecting professional results from this individual. Does any of that make sense? I'm going to say it again. One, you have a novice in place. Two, you refuse to get training for that novice. And three, you're expecting professional results from the novice. So it's very similar to if you hired a plumber to work on your house and he knew nothing about plumbing, but you're expecting a great result from his or her services. This is so common. I cannot even begin to explain. It's common in larger churches as well. So, how can we even move forward if you don't identify the real problem? The real problem is this: you have an amateur in a position of a professional, and you're expecting professional results, and you're not getting them. So now everybody's frustrated. The pastor's frustrated. All the leadership is frustrated. The old lady, Sister Sarah in the third row, is turning around every 2 seconds because something's wrong with the sound. The MD, the band, the choir, the musicians, everyone's frustrated. The tech is about to quit. The tech is about to quit because he or she is frustrated because they may have a heart of service, but because they don't have the knowledge and or training and or a professional nearby who can give them sound advice and sound training how to get through Sunday, how to get through midweek service, how to get through rehearsals, how to get through a wedding, how to get through a funeral, how to get through the many dramas that you have, how to get through the dance ministry, how to get through the children's Sunday. No tools. No tools. This person has a tool belt on, no tools in the tool belt. But you're asking them to drill a hole in a wall without a drill. You're asking them to drill a hole in the wall without a drill. So let's deal with some statistics. The United States is dominated by small churches, with the average church attracting less than 90 adults on a typical weekend. Understand this. The greatest attention flows to larger churches, which is 2%, which attract like about 1,000 adults per weekend. That's just average. I'm talking to churches 500 members and down. When I say down, it could be 10 people. I don't care. This is who we're talking to. Small venues, mid-sized venues. Now, the good thing about this is that small churches are growing, but the people are not growing as far as the technology is concerned. So there's hope for small churches, tremendous potential for small churches. Aside from some of the critical challenges that an average church may have is just people. But it is a great place to, it's really like a built in small group. It's like a built in family. You have all of these close, most of them are very close in proximity. It's a real family, and which is a lot of larger churches do with small groups. It's what small church is. So, this is the first thing that I usually run into when I attend a church. First of all, when I get called to go do a consultation, what I don't do is installations. I will not put up a speaker. I wouldn't do any of that. I will find you someone who can do that for you. But I'm here to teach you how to use what you have or suggest some things you can get in the future. Is your church sound in the building and online more of a prayer request than a solution? Small church, big sound problems. You are not alone. My name is Prentiss L. Thompson, media consultant, trainer, and the host of the Church Sound Podcast. I help churches of all sizes deliver clear sound in the sanctuary and online, not by overspending, but by training your team, creating a smart, scalable strategy, and using the gear that you already have, usually with just a few key upgrades where it counts. I am located in the Columbia, South Carolina area. I can personally visit your church and help you to stop surviving Sundays. If you are in the neighboring counties or wherever you are, you can also book a free video consultation. 30 minutes is all I need to be able to help you thrive on Sundays. Visit invisiblemediaconsulting.com and someone will contact you. The first thing I want to address is everybody. Let me tell you the reasons why. The reasons why is because all of the sound comes through the mixer, the music ministry, the pastoral staff. Anything that goes on in the church will come through your audio system, which behooves me that everyone should know how to use the equipment correctly. And this really comes from when you don't understand how things should sound, or you have not experienced excellence and you don't know what it should sound like. Or you've experienced it in a much larger venue where the technology is far reaching, meaning that it's beyond your budget, but you want to obtain that. Now, there are ways to obtain it, but you have to know how to do it within the space that you're in. First thing I will say that everyone should know how to use the equipment correctly. Even the engineer should know how to use the equipment correctly. Even Mama Jones, who refuses to speak into the mic when giving announcements. Even the pastor who refuses to place the lavalier high enough, but always complaining about feedback. Even the musician who refuses to plug into the house, but has a keyboard amp on stage and doesn't understand why they don't hear them in the subs in the room. Or they don't understand why we don't have enough bass in the room because you don't have subs. You should understand that. So what is your point, Prentiss? This is my point. Everyone should get trained, not just the engineer. The engineer should be trained on the technical aspects on how to use all of the equipment, but every person that is a participant of any part in a service should get trained on using the equipment that they're using. For instance, if Mama Jones uses the same handheld for announcements, she should know how to turn it on, turn it off. There should be a system in place whether you don't turn it off or you don't turn it on, however your church does it. I prefer to leave them on so I can mute them. That's me. There are certain churches that will cut them on and off, which is fine to save battery life. Whatever works for your church. Mama Jones should know how to use the microphone correctly. The singer, the alto, who always sings with the mic way down here, should know how to raise the mic to their mouth so you can properly hear them. So this way they don't complain, they don't hear themselves in the monitor because they're really not amplifying their voice with the microphone they do have. So a lot of times when I attend churches, these are the things that I see. People not using the equipment correctly. Everyone, not using the equipment correctly. I'll give you an example. I went to a church one time, and I can't even make this stuff up. The praise and worship leader would tell each member of the praise team to step out into the audience to see if they could hear themselves with a hot mic. And then starts telling the engineer to make changes. Now, a good engineer, an engineer that knows better, will say, "Yeah, you need to get your butt back on the stage so I can get your monitors or your in-ears straight, so I can get the house straight. You just need to sing and make sure I'm getting a certain level in sound check." Right? So what I'm saying is that, one, everyone needs to know how to use the equipment. Two, your engineer should get training. And three, and most importantly, everyone everyone should get on the same page because everyone's getting the same training. You get it? Mama Jones is getting the training. The praise and worship leaders are getting the training. The musicians are getting the training. The engineers getting the training. Everyone's getting the training how to use their equipment correctly. So, what happens is this forms a habit. This forms a habit, a subconscious habit. What do I mean by a subconscious habit? This is what I mean. When you guys drive a car, are you really, really, really thinking about driving? Or are you just driving? Because you've done it so much, you're not even looking at where the gear is. You know where reverse is, you know where drive is, you know where the brake is, you know where the accelerator is, you know where the rear view mirrors are, you know where everything is. You've done this a million times. You're not thinking about it. Have you ever thought about tying your shoe past when you first learned? When you first learned, you were like, print it over, bring it over. Now pull it. Okay, Bobby, pull it tight. Okay, now you got it. By the time you've done it, by the time you're like 15, you're not thinking about how to tie your shoe. You subconsciously know how to tie your shoe. So what am I saying? I'm saying your training should be so on point and so repetitious that it's now subconscious, meaning that you know where to get your mics, you know how to do your sound check, you know how to do everything. Now this is where everything goes haywire. If your sound is horrible at your church and it's consistently horrible, then you are now subconsciously shooting your whole leg off because you have now seeped into a unrealistic perspective on how things should go without any real knowledge. So what you're doing is you're doing what you think should happen, not what you know should happen. You're doing things based on how you feel, not based on information. You're doing things how you feel, not based on information. So, how do we correct this? We correct this with training and a great consultant. I'm not pitching myself. However, I can help. But in order for you to gain success, you have to assess where you're at. You have to assess the type of equipment you have. You have to assess the type of training that you need. This is with everyone. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a church and they said, "Man, we have a problem with the audio." And sometimes it is the engineer and the teams there. Sometimes it's the musicians. Sometimes it's the pastor. Sometimes it's the evangelist who will scream in the mic and wants the wedges so hot that it's louder than the house. I'm giving you real life scenarios. This is what I deal with. And this causes frustration for everybody. For everybody. So, this is what I want you to do. I want you to really assess where you're at. Not based on what I think I want, not based on how I feel. I'm talking about based on what mixer do I have and what microphones do we have and what are the issues? Like write down the issues. What are the issues? And find someone who can give you clean and concise answers. If your audio person needs training, there are so many conventions, there's so many conferences, there are so many people out there that do great training. You need training. I don't know if anyone has ever gone to the Olympics without training. I'm pretty sure that the musician in your church band practiced. Think about this. The engineer that you have in this novice position only gets to practice twice a week, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a month. But you're complaining. It sounds horrible. We got feedback. The engineer doesn't know how to fix it because they don't know how to fix it because they haven't got training. Maybe the feedback is coming from Sister Joe, who is standing in front of the microphone all the time, hanging the mic down by her leg in between songs, and now you're getting feedback from the monitor, from the front wedge, and he doesn't know how to fix it. She refuses to pick the mic up. You could tell her a million times, "Could you please not hang the mic?" Refuses because she's in the spirit. That in the spirit overrides common sense. The hook of Mashonda overrides common sense. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to really assess what you have. What are your problems? Assess what you have. Assess your problems. And let's be solution based. Let's be solution based. Now, these next couple of weeks, I'm really going to be delving into what training is. What is audio training? What does it consist of? It's very important that you guys understand that, so this way you know what you're looking at. You know what I mean? It's like bringing your car to the wrong mechanic. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need that guy. You understand what I'm saying? So really, really assess it and be honest. Sometimes the problem is leadership. Don't keep it a buck. Sometimes the problem is leadership. Sometimes it's you. In order to move forward, sometimes we got to take a step back and really, really look at where we're at. So, if you can do that for me, I can do this for you. I can provide you the information to help you. Now, if there are specific questions that you have, I would love to get them. I would love to get them. Hit me up at the Church Sound Podcast at Gmail. That's the Church Sound Podcast at gmail.com. And send me your questions. Identify yourself, identify your church, and I would love to answer these questions right on this show. Because I'm pretty sure if you have a question, if you have an issue, there are other churches out there that have the same issues and questions. And maybe they don't want to put their church on blast. Maybe they don't put themselves on blast. Maybe they don't want to put their pastor on blast. Whatever that is. But I'm pretty sure that your question will help somebody else out. So, say like I always say, keep God first in everything you do. See you next time on the Church Sound Podcast. God bless.